hiring to a group of DAR ladies in Texas, and they named their DAR chapter the James Billingsley chapter. One of James's sons was Walter Billingsley. Walter Billingsley wound up living right here in Bradley County. Walter Billingsley made an application for a pension for his service. He did so while living in McMinn County, and his pension was denied. When he moved to Bradley County, he made an amended application for a pension, which also was denied. Walter Billingsley walks among us tonight, and he has brought, shall we say, a suit against the War Department of the United States of America, wishing to have his pension granted. We have witnesses. Those witnesses come directly from Mr. Billingsley's application. He had some people that he named, such as John Sevier. Unfortunately, John Sevier was dead when it came time for his pension application to be processed. He also named Jonathan Tipton. Jonathan Tipton had become an old man. He was living in Overton County and unable to come tonight. He named one Samuel Bryant, but Samuel Bryant was a Tory and he disappeared soon after the end of the Revolution. We don't know what happened to him. Two of his potential witnesses were of African descent. And since this is 1836, they cannot appear in court. So we are left with Walter Billingsley himself, Mr. A. Barr, who was the deputy court clerk of McMinn County, the Reverend Henry Price, a Methodist minister, and the circuit court clerk, the first circuit court clerk of Bradley County. We have John Robinson, who was the first county court clerk of Bradley County. We have Mr. Thomas Armstrong, who was a recruiter. We have a person that we don't know their first name. His last name is Whitlock. Whitlock was a soldier. We have James Billingsley. James Billingsley was Walter's brother. So those witnesses will appear, and Judge Larry Puckett will be presiding tonight. Sam Allen will be the bailiff of the court. Mr. Bailiff, you can stand and start this way. We have, representing Walter Billingsley, we have Andy Brown. If you don't know Andy, he's the son of our compatriot Bill Brown. And we have Casey Stokes, who is going to represent the United States of America. The judge has charged the jury, and if the jurors will come forward and take your place here in the jury box. Do any of y'all fans of rock music, does this remind you of Motley Crue? Now, while our jurors are getting seated, will our witnesses please come forward?
You need your money?
Wait to be called out the hallway. Do you wish to swear him at this time?
I swear, unless the lady wants to swear, if you want to swear him, go ahead. Everybody's going to be a witness in this case. If you raise your right hand, be sworn.
Do you promise to tell the truth to the best of your understanding?
I do.
All right. Who's going to be the first witness, Mr. Brown?
Your Honor, I think Walter Billingsley is going to be the first one.
All right, everybody except Walter Billingsley is a witness. Step outside the hallway. You'll be called back when your turn to testify comes. Let me swear the drawers. Y'all stand up and raise your right hand. Each of you promise to swear to tell the truth, to answer my question honestly. So help you God. All right. Do any of you know any reason you can't be fair to Walter Billingsley and the United States War Department and the Secretary of Treasury? Anybody know any reason you can't be? All right, you're qualified as yours. Stay up. Stay up. All right, now do each of you solemnly swear to decide this case according to the evidence and the law, which is the Act of June 7, 1832, to the best of your ability? All right, you can sit down now. All right, now, lawyers, let me say, there was a time when courtrooms were the place where people got their entertainment. Now, I have a microphone, and I don't know if I'm needing it or not, or whether it's even on. I guess it might not be on. But you need to be able to hear the witnesses and the lawyers. So if y'all want to move on up here close by where y'all can get a ringside seat, that's fine. If you can't hear, just come on, stand around the hallway of the walls, and we'll let you all enjoy the show, so to speak. All right. Now, Mr. Brown, you represent Walter Billingsley?
I do, Your Honor.
Can you make a 1-minute opening statement?
I hope. That's all I've got.
Not anything like his daddy, I can say. Go ahead, make your statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Andy Brown. I represent the petitioner today, Walter Billingsley. Make no mistake, today is an important day for Mr. Billingsley. He is here seeking a pension from the War Department. It's something extremely important for his life. The year is 1832. Mr. Billingsley is 71 years old by some accounts. Others say 70, some say 76. Records are sparse. Make no mistake of that. You will hear proof today. It will be clear, and the jurors will understand that this man served the requisite period of time in order to get the pension that he deserves. Now, the charge that the jurors have to answer, and they have their jury sheets here, but for the purposes of the argument, the first thing that has to be proved is that Walter Billingsley served in the regular troops, state troops, militia, or as a volunteer or Indian spy. Make no mistake whatsoever. Not only did Mr. Billingsley serve as a soldier, but he also served under the command of John Sevier, and he also served as a prisoner of war. All of these times together, which can be tacked, they can run at the same time, will equal a period of time necessary in which the War Department should award him his pension. What is that period of time? It is 6 months. A mere 6 months of time. Now this man entered into the Army. He participated in battle. He fought. He was hurt. He went and he was a prisoner, and then he went on to serve with John Sevier. All of these things together, and the proof that you'll hear that not only will be testified by this man, Mr. Billingsley, but also corroborated by the witnesses, will prove that in fact he's entitled to his pension, and we hope the jurors can so rule. Thank you.
All right. Attorney Stokes for the War Department.
Gentlemen of the jury, I'm Casey Stokes. I represent the U.S. government that many of you fought for in this war. Mr. Billingsley is asking to be for a pension. He claims to be a soldier, a warrior for this country. But in fact, gentlemen, Mr. Billingsley is a fraud.
Objection!
Overruled.
The proof will show that Mr. Billingsley did not serve his country. Mr. Billingsley was off on a escapade, who knows where, probably smoking peace pipes with Indians, laying by riverbanks, and enjoying himself on an extended vacation. The proof will show this, and we're looking forward to proving that as part of the U.S. government.
All right. Mr. Brown, call your first witness.
Walter Billingsley, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Billingsley, come around, sir. Take the witness chair right here. You been sworn? All right, raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir. All right, over there.
Sir, if you will, state your name for the record.
What?
Can you state your name for the record?
Walter Billingsley.
Well, Mr. Billingsley, can you please tell me where you were born?
I was born, you want the date?
No, sir, just where?
Where, in Maryland,
In Maryland. Where in Maryland were you born?
with my mom. As I reckon it was the 14th of July in 1761.
How old does that make you today?
Have you got one that calculates?
Is it true that you're 71 years old?
71, that's what I was going to say. I
That's
was going to say that.
That's wonderful. Now, after you were born, obviously you spent a majority of your life in Maryland, but at some point in time, did you move south?
No, Daddy moved, yeah, we moved to North Carolina.
You moved to North Carolina. At any point in time, did you join the services of the continent, or not the continent, but the Revolutionary Army?
Yes.
Who was it that you enlisted with?
We were in Guilford County, and we went on down in Sergeant Armstrong, Thomas Armstrong.
Thomas Armstrong. Do you
Yes.
remember where you enlisted with him?
No, it was in North Carolina.
It was in the state of North Carolina.
Yeah,
All right. Do you remember the date in which you enlisted?
1781.
1780.
1780, rather, I'm sorry.
Was it January 1st of 1780?
Somewhere around there.
All right, that's just fine. When you enlisted with Sergeant Armstrong or
Yeah.
Mr. Armstrong, what happened then?
Well, we were to go down and get training, and then we went to Salisbury, and we just went around some, and they didn't activate. We were going to be in the 17th Virginia Militia, but they didn't activate it. We went down there and served and trained, but then they didn't activate that unit. So then they put me, I had to make bullets, munitions for them.
My understanding, you right, you made cartridges after you enlisted. Is that right? So from January 1st of 1780 was when you enlisted, and then thereafter, you were a cartridge maker in the Army. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you traveled, did you not, somewhere?
Yeah. Then what happened is Sergeant Armstrong said, we've got to go over here. And so we went west of Salisbury and we went to Waxhaw. And that's where that Major Tarleton, that butcher, he came in and he wiped out, he massacred all of our troopers. And we barely, how I survived, I pretended they hit me, I laid down, and then I just snuck along with one and got in the woods.
Was that the battle with Commander Buford?
No, it was Tarleton.
Buford, was he one of the?
He was ours.
He was your commander, is
Yeah,
that right?
Tarleton was the British.
And the forces were slaughtered, were they not?
It's the Battle of Waxhaw, and then at Calkins, or at Kings Mountain, they said, let's give them Tarleton surrender, because we tried to surrender, and he butchered, he said, kill him. And that's when I started.
And isn't it true that that was on June 1st of 1780?
Yes, sir.
All right, so at that point in time, you would have had approximately from January 1st of that year until June, you had approximately 5 months of service, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and that was continuous service, is that correct?
Yes, sir, every day.
All right, fantastic. Moving on, after the battle, you obviously survived. What happened then?
Then we were in the woods and we just kept going around in circles, and finally we got caught by some of Tarleton's people, and so we became prisoners of war.
Okay. During that period of time, were you traveling with anybody else?
Yeah, I tell you, I could see him, but I can't think of that name.
There was a person though, correct?
Yeah, it was a person, it wasn't an animal.
Were there any gentlemen that can't testify here today that were with you?
Not that I mean,
Perhaps African American?
oh, yeah, there was two.
There were a couple of them, okay? After you escaped with these individuals, did you then run across an enemy encampment?
Yeah, that was part of Tarleton's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you then captured?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you remember when that was?
I'd say somewhere in July, somewhere, you know.
Just a short time after the battle, is that
After
correct?
the battle.
Okay. How long, where were you taken, I suppose, from when you were captured?
We were just in the woods, I don't know.
Do you remember how long you were in
A
camp?
long time, I mean, it seemed like forever.
Would it be fair to say that you were in camp a prisoner for 9 months?
Yeah, because, that'd been 81, I went on up to Sullivan County. So, yeah, something like that.
Okay. So we have a period of 5 months in which you served with General Armstrong, and then at the battle of, where Mr. Buford was killed or slaughtered. Waxhaw, excuse me. And then you move forward and you're a prisoner of war for 9 months thereafter. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So right there, in terms of your petition, you've exceeded the 6 month period. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you're testifying to today?
Yes, sir.
All right, and that's your story. You're sticking with it?
We're a bit of it.
Fantastic. Moving on from there, after the battle, or after you were made a prisoner, you're here today, how did you get free? Do you remember?
We escaped.
You escaped.
They had us kind of loosely, we were honorable, the British weren't. And that's why, but anyway, we just waited, and then some rebels started to attack them, and they got all worried and everything. We got to get out of here, we got to get out. And so that's when 2 or 3 of us, we said, all right, we got down on our bellies.
And you successfully escaped.
Yes, sir.
At that point in time, where did you go?
To the woods.
Did you come across a militia? And did you find your brother James Billingsley?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Jimmy Boy. Okay. And when you found James Billingsley, you joined the militia, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, did your brother ask for any furlough for your services?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Do you remember the date that might have happened?
Not really. Sometime 81.
Would it be a fair conclusion to say that was the 22nd day of March, 1781?
About, yeah.
So 1781 would be when you were furloughed.
Mm-hmm.
So we've gone from January the 1st when you enlisted until
Of 80.
of 80 until March of 81.
Yeah.
Significant period of time, much longer than 6 months, isn't that right?
The way I calculate.
After that, when you were furloughed, where did you go from there?
I wound up in Sullivan County, up near Virginia line in there.
After that, approximately 10 months later, did you rejoin or attempt to rejoin the Army?
That's when I think Colonel Severe came and wanted me to be an Indian spy. Those Cherokee were really kind of rough. See, the Cherokee were for the British, and so that's why we had to spy on them.
Okay. So General Severe, who you're talking about, is that John Severe?
No, the Jackie Jack, yeah.
Jackie Jackson
No, the
Severe.
Jackie Jack.
All right.
That's what we call it.
And that's the John Severe.
What this meant, we got an objection over here.
Objection.
What's the basis of your objection, Mr. Stokes?
We have a treaty with the Cherokees. There's no reason to define them. There's nothing to do with military service.
Well, we haven't talked yet about what he was doing with John Severe, but the fact of the matter remains that the Cherokees had a treaty with the British. in which they were working with the British in order to stop the revolution, Your Honor, and I think that's well documented.
So you're wanting to count his service with Colonel Sevier as part of his military service?
Well, Your Honor, I hadn't got to that point yet, but absolutely, without question.
Your Honor, where are you supposed to be, citizen, where are you supposed to be west?
Why weren't they supposed to be west?
Because of the Cherokee Treaty.
Well, that goes back to King George III in 1763. We was fighting against that treaty. I'm going to make a ruling as a matter of law that this gentleman's service with Colonel Sevier is to be applied to his military service. The Cherokee, especially the Chickamaugas, is that where he served? I ain't got that far yet.
I believe that's correct, Your Honor.
Yeah, well, they were extremely hostile in league with their allies, the British. So I'm going to let you proceed.
Wise beyond your years, sir. Isn't it true that you joined with Captain Sevier, or Colonel Sevier, excuse me, and also Captain Poyle around December 1st of 1781?
Yes.
At that time, that's when you began to discuss the matter of your being a spy, if you will, on the Indians. But in fact, you weren't just a spy, were you? You were a scout.
Yeah.
You were researching positions so that there could be attacks from militias, isn't that correct?
Well, it's a pretty big word.
Your service was honorable, was it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it was thorough. It was thorough in the sense that you didn't stop. You continued with your service with Colonel Sevier, and that continued through until approximately October 1st of 1782. Is that right? So from December 1st of 1781 to October 1st of 1782, you were with Colonel Sevier and his group performing the duties which you just discussed.
And when you say with, see, we were spies. We were out scouting. We weren't with any ranking officer. I mean,
You
we
were
on
serving
our-
with him, is that right?
Well, yeah, he came to us and he said, hey, we need y'all out here. So I said, whatever you say, because I was second Jack.
Any more questions?
Your Honor, I believe that concludes
All
my...
right, Mr. Stokes, you want to cross-examine this witness?
Your Honor.
Sir, wait just a second. You got to be questioned by this lawyer.
Questions, Mr. Billingsley? No questions. Mr. Billingsley, you stated earlier in your testimony that you joined the 17th Virginia Regiment.
That's who we were supposed to be, yeah.
Would you be surprised, Mr. Billingsley, if I told you there's no such thing as the 17th Virginia Regiment?
That you could find? Well, I mean,
I believe it means that anybody can find.
Oh, goodbye.
really?
You said in your testimony that you signed up with a Sergeant Armstrong
Yes, sir.
to work for a Captain Williams. Would you be surprised, Mr. Billingsley, that if I told you no one can find a Sergeant Armstrong nor a Captain Williams?
Who you got doing your research?
Evidence, sir. How long were you testified earlier, sir, that you were a prisoner of war for 9 months.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever have an opportunity to escape?
I tried, but I never succeeded.
So in 9 months, you never could get away?
Well, they had guns.
You testified earlier, Mr. Billingsley, that you were furloughed
Yes, sir.
by your brother's request, and that furlough occurred around March of 1781. Okay, and you had no further service after that. If that's the case, how were you wounded at Ramser's Mill in June of '80?
No, a furlough is a short term. They just let you kind of relax and lick your wounds. Would you be surprised if I had some wounds?
Yes, Mr. Mills, I would, because if you were furloughed in March, how were you wounded in June?
Well, don't you understand? I'm back in battle.
Well, you testified that your next service was in Washington County in December of '81. November, December.
Now, that was after that.
Okay, Mr.
You're trying to mix me up.
No further questions for this witness, Your Honor. Oh, well, I do have one. Mr. Billingsley,
Yes, sir.
are you trying to influence this jury by wearing your uniform to this hearing?
Well, I thought it was significant that 14 years later, I still fit the uniform I wore.
One question, who are we here against today?
What?
Who are we here against? The government.
The government.
Do you believe the government? Do you trust their records?
I don't trust that boy.
Are you an honest man?
Yes, sir.
Did you serve honorably?
Yes, sir.
Are you wanting this jury to award you your pension for your time served in excess of 6 months, might I add?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you can step down, sir. He can stay in the courtroom. He's the party. Come around here and have a seat, Mr. Billingsley.
Can I sit by this?
Yes, you may. Be safe.
I'm going to call A. Barb, Your Honor.
Hey, Barb. Come on around.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You've been sworn. Have a seat there.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Brown.
Sir, state your name.
Mr. A. Barb,
And sir, where are you from?
Min County.
Min County. Do you know the petitioner, Walter Billingsley?
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
I have been with him, saw his records, and I attest that he was in the Revolutionary War.
Well, that's fantastic. So, in terms of the government suggesting that, in fact, Mr. Billingsley never participated in any type of war service, you would contradict that, is that right?
Absolutely.
And your basis of knowledge is based on your firsthand experience?
Yes, sir.
Do you know his age?
He's 71 years old.
The rest of it. Thank you.
Any cross-examination?
Yes. Sir, what makes you believe that he is a veteran?
I've gone through all his records, read through his stuff, and being a deputy clerk, it's my duty to watch over the records, and everything he has is right. I believe in my heart.
You believe it in your heart, or did you see it with your eyes?
I'm a man of papers.
So I take it, sir, you did not serve with him or observe him in any of this service he's recited in his paperwork?
No, sir, just the papers.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next witness,
Your Honor, I'll call the Reverend Henry Price.
Reverend Price. Clerk of court. Reverend, I'm going to ask you to take your hat off in this here courtroom.
Thank you, Henry.
Sir, state your name.
My name is Reverend Henry Price.
All right. And what is your profession, sir?
I am an ambassador of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I'm also the county clerk.
Where do you live?
I live here in Bradley County.
Do you know the petitioner, Mr. Walter Billingsley?
Yes, I know him very well.
How do you know him very well?
He is an acquaintance of mine. He's made many, I guess you'd say, appearances in our church. And although he may not be the sharpest knife in the cabin drawer, I believe him to be an honest man and a humble man.
Now, you live in his community, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You know him to be honest and humble?
Yes, sir.
He's testified to? Do you happen to know anything of his participation in military service?
I know only what he has repeated. I have never caught him in a contradiction, and I fully believe the stories that he has told.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Stokely?
Yes. So you've only heard stories, sir?
Yes, I've heard stories.
You never served with him?
No, I was not old enough to serve.
You know anyone who served with
Only of his brother.
you? And so you're basing all of this, your knowledge, on stories?
I believe I was called as a character witness to give credence to his character, not as an eyewitness, since I was not born at the time of the revolution.
Thank you, sir.
You can step down, thank you, sir. You can remain in the courtroom. Next witness?
John H. Robinson, Your Honor.
John H. Robinson. You'll have a seat right there, sir. You've been sworn, right? I have. Okay.
Sir, your name
John H. Robertson.
and where are you from?
I live in Bradley County.
Okay. What, do you know Walter Billingsley?
I do.
Okay, what's your basis of knowledge?
He appeared before the county court recently in 1838, January of 1838, and also under me.
Okay. And when he appeared before that body, what was the purpose of it?
To relay his account of his service during the Revolution and to ask for support from the court.
Is that the basis upon which Mr. Billingsley is here today?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and he was there to sign whatever documents were necessary and to attest that he was in fact in the service.
Yes, he was.
Thank you very much.
So you just recorded what he said, correct?
Yes, when he was appearing under oath before the county court.
So your whole basis of knowledge is based on what Mr. Billingsley said and no one else?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Let me ask a question. Now, what office do you hold?
I am the Bradley County Court Clerk.
All right. And are you called on to make opinions like you've given today on truthfulness of a witness in front of the court?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. You can step down.
Your Honor, I'm going to call James Billingsley.
James Billingsley. All right, bailiff, make sure that man's hat comes off.
He'd been serving, is that right?
Well, not really, because he had been in prison for a while.
He had been in prison.
He escaped and came to us, and I knew that he was in there before, but he wasn't in the resignation.
Is it normal that someone would be furloughed under circumstances where they were not serving?
Well, he was in prison for 9 months. He deserved a break.
When you say prison, are you talking about,
He was a prisoner of war.
that's, and not just because of criminal charges, but because he had been captured over here?
He captured by the court.
And it is in fact true that you did apply for a furlough for him and that was granted? Thank you very much.
Cross-examination.
You have no idea if he was actually serving and fighting for his country at all.
Just what he told me.
And you asked for the furlough based on his prisoner of war status, correct?
That is correct.
That's all my question.
All right, you can step down, sir. Thank you.
Your Honor, that is the petitioner's text.
Any proof from the War Department?
Your witnesses, right?
All right, 1 minute closing.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Go ahead, you first.
ladies and gentlemen, or I'm sorry, gentlemen of the jury, you've heard today, without dispute, that Mr. Billingsley served in the United States Army for purposes of the Revolutionary War. He first served under Colonel Armstrong, where he enlisted. He then continued his service with Colonel Armstrong until he got to the Battle of Waxhaw.
Yes.
in which time he fought in a vicious battle which resulted in the majority of the men of his regiment being killed. He was fortunate to escape. At that point in time, he then went in, was captured by British troops, and was not released for 9 months. Now, the point being, 9 months alone in prison as a prisoner of war qualifies him under the law for purposes of getting the pension that he is requesting to possess. That alone. You need nothing else other than the fact that he was in prison as a prisoner of war in order to sustain his petition for the pension. But that's not the important story here. This is a man.
30 seconds.
This is a man who served not just in prison, but as a soldier. He fought for this country. He fought for this state that we're in. He served with John Sevier, all of which makes him eligible for the pension. It's something that he deserves, and it's something we hope that you found enough evidence to support today, and we hope you rule in his favor. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Stokes, 1 minute.
Gentlemen of the jury, you've heard the testimony, you've heard the proof. The proof has shown that Mr. Billingsley is a storyteller. He claimed to have been recruited by Armstrong to serve in the 17th Virginia Regiment. Folks, you know the proof shown there's no such thing as a 17th Virginia Regiment. And there was we can't find any records of a Sergeant Armstrong nor a Captain Williams. We have no evidence that he was a prisoner of war, except his stories. We can find no records proving his service. We can find no records proving his prisoner status. Simply, Mr. Billingsley is a fraud. And he's trying to perpetuate a fraud on our great country that we have fought so hard for. Thank you for your attention.
Quick rebuttal, Your Honor.
15 seconds.
Gentlemen of the jury, we're trying to get away from the tyrannical government of Britain. Now the tyrannical government of the United States is trying to deny this man the pension he deserves. That is important, and that is what we are trying to avoid. Rule in our favor, please.
All right. George, I gave you your instructions earlier. I'm going to repeat them. I'm going to remind you, though, that the parties to this case are Walter Billingsley, who's the applicant for a pension, and also the United States of America Department, War Department, through the Secretary of War, and also the Secretary of the Treasury is going to be required to pay this man if you find him entitled to a pension. Now, what they have to prove in order to get this pension under the Act of June 7th, 1832 is that Walter Billingsley served as a regular member of regular troops of the Continental Army, or state troops, or militia, or volunteer, was a volunteer, or was an Indian spy. They also have to prove that he served at least 6 months. Now, they also have to prove under what officers Walter Billingsley served, the duration of each term of engagement, the particular place or places where the service was performed, and that Walter Billingsley served in an embodied corps called into service by competent authority, and that he was either in the field or in a garrison, and that for the time during which the service was performed, he was not employed in any civilian pursuit. Now, as you see on your instructions, you can, in arriving at your conclusions, consider traditionary evidence, such as proof as to the general belief in the neighborhood that Walter Billingsley had in fact been a revolutionary soldier. This traditionary evidence must be established by testimony from the nearest clergyman and or other persons of good character, good standing within the applicant's community. All right, you have a jury ballot. Since you all aren't going to be able to go back and deliberate, I'm going to just let you mark your ballot. You got 3 questions on there. The first one being whether Mr. Billingsley is entitled to a pension. The second one is based on the testimony, should the chapter continue to search for his grave, and if found, conduct a formal grave marking ceremony as a patriot. And then the final question is based on the testimony, should Walter Billingsley's name be included on the commemorative plaque to be dedicated to the Revolutionary soldiers buried in Bradley County. So mark your ballots and turn them in. Then we'll let the bailiff take them and then tabulate them and then bring them right back. according to the president of this chapter, and this tribunal's been convened under the auspices of the Colonel Benjamin Cleveland chapter of the Tennessee Sons of American Revolution, this chapter will be bound by your decision in this case. You have all right?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's a simple majority unless it's 3-3, then it's a complicated tie. All right. Yeah. Well, it's a tie as to whether he's entitled to a pension. What? Tie goes to the War Department. What? Bailiff, you might have to restrain the division.
Let the alternate vote.
I might have some good news for you, Mr. Billingsley. It is, somebody didn't fill out one of the blanks, so you're going to win. We're going to keep searching for your grave. How's that? The next question is, should your name be included on the plaque? All right. This is the biggest question in a way. These people are paying money to put your name out there. Did y'all hear that? He said he'd rather have the cash. Pension. Thank you, sir. Well, it is a clear majority vote that yes, your name shall be included on the plaque honoring Revolutionary soldiers to be dedicated near Colonel Benjamin Cleveland's statue by this chapter. Congratulations, sir.